Finally, the 992 generation GT3 is here. The motorsport marvel, the race car for the road. It's only now been officially revealed by Porsche. And in this video coming up, I'm going to give you a shed load of information that you may not already know about the car. And before the end of the video, I'm also going to be speaking to an industry expert as well about just what is going to happen to the GT3 marketplace, including the 992 in 2021. Stick around. The big thing to stress here is Porsche readily admits this GT3 has been the most complicated of any GT3 generation to fulfill and has had the most investment thrown at it as the GT department battles to service with a GT3 that's improved over its predecessor in the performance stakes, no mean feat in itself, but while conforming to ever more stringent safety and emissions regulations. Most of those regulations are coming from Europe, by the way, and so European models will be fitted with a gasoline particulate filter. US models will not have the filters themselves, but they will still have the GPF carriers to simplify production. This might all sound like the last stand for the GT3 as we know it, but Porsche says it expects the GT story to continue. This largely lies in the hands of synthetic fuels, which Porsche says is on track to deliver by 2022. First with racing cars and then road cars in small volumes. On the subject of motorsport, as I said in my intro, this car really is dripping in motorsport componentry. It starts at the back, it goes right the way to the front of the car. We begin, of course, with the drivetrain, which is lifted directly pretty much from the 992 generation GT3 Cup car. That is the competition spec cars that race in the Carrera Cup and Super Cup around the globe. The flat six itself is 4 litre, it's naturally aspirated still, thank God. It's one of the last low production, naturally aspirated super sports cars still being produced on the planet today. I digress. It retains the 9,000 RPM redline of the previous generation. That's what made the car so iconic, wasn't it? Power output is 510 horsepower, so it's a nominal gain over the previous generation. Where the 992 generation does win over its predecessor in the performance stakes is downforce. Again, all motorsport technology. This swan-necked design you'll recognise from latest generations, RSR, GT3R race cars of course, as well as the Cup cars. It's a swan-neck design, 4 different positions, it's manually adjustable, all you need is an Allen key. That, twinned with the GT3 R spec rear diffuser on the car, plus some other bits and bobs, means that the 992 GT3 is 50% more downforce than its predecessor. Now, despite the technical evolution of this GT3, for example, that turbo body, it's the first time the GT3 has gone ultra wide bodied, hasn't it? As well as the double wishbone front suspension. All that sort of componentry does come with a weight penalty, but crucially, especially for motorsport fans, the 992 GT3 weighs in at exactly the same as the outgoing car, okay? So that's 1,413 kilos for manual transmission cars and 1,435 kilos for PDK equipped cars. There's been some pretty trick weight saving techniques deployed to get the car back to the 991.2 generation GT3's overall mass. The trickery including, for example, weight saving on the PDK gearbox. 18 kilos of overall mass has been stripped out from the previous generation automatic box. Another example is the 992 GT3's boot lid. It's the first time a GT3's boot lid has been made from carbon fibre, and it's also the first time a production road vehicle has been made pedestrian protection compliant. That's really difficult to say and I don't know why. Back to transmission. If you prefer 3 pedals and a stick shift to PDK Sport, a 6-speed manual is once again available. Porsche is expecting around 40% of GT3 buyers to spec the 6-speed manual transmission with their GT3, and on that note, the Touring is coming later this year. One thing we need to address is the 992 GT3's double wishbone front suspension and its elasto kinematic bushing. That's really hard to say and I'm not sure why again. It seems slightly at odds, doesn't it? Particularly with the idea of the Touring, which is more of a road biased GT3. Now, I asked Andreas Preuninger how the Touring might get around this supposed juxtaposition, and he told me, pleasingly, that not only is the 992 generation GT3 stiffer than its predecessor, it's also more stable as well. And it's all due to the setup of that front suspension, okay? Twinned with New 992 generation damper technology, unique to this 8th generation of 911. It means that this car is, in his words, a jack of all trades and perfect for B-road blasts. Okay, on to those performance headlines. I mentioned they're impressive. I'm going to put them here so you can absorb them while I'm chatting away. The first is the 0 to 60 time, only 3.4 seconds now. That is incredible, by the way, for a naturally aspirated rear-wheel drive 911 that doesn't have Rennsport in its name. Really, really cool. So if you want to be quickest, you need a PDK transmission. If you want to be fastest, you need a manual. It's the manual cars that have the top speed of 199 mile an hour. The PDK only has 198. However, the biggest performance stat is the Nürburgring lap time. Now, for some reason, Nürburgring lap times matter to people. To me, I couldn't care less. I don't quite get it. But as I say, they might matter to you, so we're going to run through it. The 992 GT3's Nürburgring lap time, and that's the 20.6 kilometre version of the circuit, okay, is 6 minutes 55 seconds. That is a smidge under a second quicker than the 991.2 GT3 RS and the 918 hypercar. For reference, by the way, that's an incredible 17 seconds quicker than its predecessor. It is worth mentioning, by the way, that both the GT3 and the GT3 RS, in fairness, were run for that lap time on Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2R tyres, okay? Andreas Preuninger has said that that tyre alone shaves 3 to 4 seconds off each car's lap time. Congratulations to Lars Kern, who pedalled that car around the ring, by the way. Awesome stuff. So, as you can see, that is a hell of a GT3. That really is a cup car with license plates. I've said that before for the 991.2 GT3 RS. Don't forget, this is only a GT3. It's a GT car, no less, but it doesn't have the Rennsport name. To achieve all of that in a car that will cost you around £20,000 more than a Carrera S is absolutely phenomenal. How is the 992 GT3 market shaping up? I'm going to speak to an industry expert for the inside knowledge. Mr. Karl Meyer, also known as the PorscheBuyer.com. Three questions really. First one is, first deliveries of the car are scheduled for May. How realistic is that? Second of all, is there likely to be an overs market for the 992 GT3? And thirdly, what do you think the 992 is going to do for the GT3 market generally?
First question, I think May is hopeful, and I think that will apply to a really, really small handful of cars. We've pretty much heard in the network the cars that actually make it this year, it's going to be really low numbers. Your second question, I think we are seeing that dwindle a little bit, but for those first few cars, no doubt. I think the very first cars will often find homes at the biggest premium, and then after that, I think they'll tail back down to the list quite quickly. What will that do for the market? That will, I think it always injects a load more people's enthusiasm. Okay, so everyone who wants one can't get one, and that will put people towards 991.2, which is still an incredible car.
And that is about it. Please like and subscribe for more such videos. Please also turn notifications on, because if you don't do that, when new videos drop, you won't see them. That's about it from me. I'll see you in another video soon, which you'll find out via your notifications on YouTube. Thank you.